back to my channel. This is Under 5, a series where I take a big and complicated topic and explain it to you guys in 5 minutes or less. But first, if you're new here, make sure to go subscribe to the channel so you can see more videos of complicated, difficult topics explained in a nice, easy, simplified, easy to understand way. Today, I'm going to be talking about voting and why, if you live in the United States, you need to vote in the 2020 election. In the past, environmentalist turnout for voting has been abysmal at best, with 39% of registered voters who identify as environmentalists not voting in the 2012 presidential election. Even worse, in the 2014 midterm election, 61% of environmentalists who are also registered to vote decided not to vote that year. The midterm numbers are incredibly disheartening because the midterm elections are arguably more important when it comes to balances of power in the national government. Environmental laws always have to go through Congress. So if we're not voting into Congress, the people who care about the environment, then laws to help the environment aren't going to get passed. And that's what we do for the midterm elections. We vote for Congress. We can't expect positive legislative change to happen on a national scale if we aren't voting in the people who care about the environment. Now let's shift to why environmentalists typically haven't voted in the past. Generally the same reasons for why a lot of people either don't vote or can't vote still apply here for environmentalists. Environmentalists are more likely to be younger, more likely to be people of color, and more likely to come from lower income households. All three of these groups also have lower voting turnouts than other groups. Part of this is because a lot of younger voters tend to buy into this idea that their vote doesn't count. In reality, every vote matters, especially when you're voting for state representatives. Another issue is even now in 2020, we still have so many barriers in place that make it very difficult for young people, people of color, and people from lower income households to be able to vote. These include voter ID requirement, lack of language access, polling place closures/consolidations, lack of funding for elections, reduced early voting, reduced voting hours, poorly trained poll workers, and many more. This is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to issues with being able to fulfill your right to vote. On top of all of these issues, voting day is on a non-holiday weekday. It's impossible for everyone to take off this one single day to be able to vote. And if you're from a lower income household, you're likely not able to afford to take off time to vote. Especially if now there's only one polling place in your town and the line is hours long just to vote. Then add in a tax on early and mail-in voting, which would help ease the issue of having to wait hours to vote. And just for fun, throw in a pandemic on top of all that because it's 2020. The point is, there are still so many barriers that make it so difficult for some people to vote. Finally, I want to talk about what you can do to help with these problems and help make positive change happen. Of course, your number one priority should be to go register to vote, and then on voting day, actually go and vote. As I've said repeatedly, we can't make the change happen if we don't put the right people in office, and so it is up to you to go out and vote when the time comes. And I know that is incredibly difficult this year because 2020 is a year and it needs to end. From everything from the attacks on mail-in voting to a pandemic, it's gonna be difficult. But we have to fight through and we have to vote when the time comes. It is just so vital that we put the right people in office at not just a national scale, but at a state and local scale as well. Second thing you need to do is go out there and support organizations that help secure the right to vote. There are many out there, and I've linked a couple down below. Either donate your time or money, whatever you are able to. These groups do some amazing work to ensure the right to vote is protected. The third thing I want you to do is go out and tell a friend to vote. And on top of that, make sure you tell them why it's important to vote for climate change. If every environmentalist is able to get just one friend to vote on climate change, you would have millions of more people voting for a very important issue that affects all of us. We can do it, and we can no longer just sit by and not do anything. We have to vote. We have to fight for the change to happen. Luckily, recent polls have shown that climate change is an increasingly important issue to voters. There is growing desire for stronger climate policy, and recent polls have found that out of all voters, 7 out of 10 care about climate change and want the government to increase climate change policy. People are starting to care a lot more, so let's keep the momentum going and make this positive change happen. That is all the time I have for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, make sure to leave a like down below. That way I know. And also subscribe to the channel to join the journey to living more sustainably. If you'd like to keep up on my own journey to living more sustainably in between uploads, you can also follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, which are all links down below. Thank you again so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.